Hello everyone, myself Dr. Sonam Gupta, working as an associate professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. So today I am going to discuss a complex topic of software project management, which is the models. Now what is basically model? Model is all related to software development life cycle, how the software is going to be built and how those particular software is to be incorporated in this particular project. So first is the selection of the project approaches. So what should be the approach of deciding the project? So there is basically in-house development. So most of the issues which are developed by IS planning and the standards. Software houses. So these are more applicable as customers, they are having the different various needs. The selection of this approach, it is governed by the uncertainties of the project and the properties of the applications which is to be built. Next one, the general approaches of building a software. So first one, it is to look at the risk and the uncertainties. Like what are these uncertainties, how this will be evaluated and allocated. So first one, we are having the risk and the uncertainties which we have to taken care upon. Like for example, are requirements well understood? Are the technologies which we are going to use, they are well understood? Then we look at the various type of the applications which is being developed or which we are going to develop. Like information system is there. Are we going to develop an embedded system? What is the criticality of the particular project? What is the difference between the target and the development environments? What the clients has their own requirements. So we need to use a particular method for that particular client. So this is the general approach which we are going to use while developing any project. So we need to take care upon various aspects from the developer side as well as from the client side. So this needs to be identified properly for any approach. Now what is the choice of the process model? There are various models which are available, like we are having waterfall model, evolutionary model, similarly the prototype, spiral, various other models are there. So which model we can use? First one, it is the waterfall. Waterfall, it is also known as the one shot once through. Since like a waterfall, we are going to start from start till the end. We do not have any choice, we just have to give the flow like a waterfall. Second one, it is the incremental delivery, evolutionary development. We also use agile methods like extreme programming. So we are going to discuss all these models one by one. So this is a waterfall model. Now as we can see in this waterfall model, the stages are same which we have in any project, like the feasibility study, user requirements, analysis, system design, program design, coding, testing and the operation. So these are the various stages which we are going to use through a waterfall. Now as we can see, like a waterfall, we are having a staircase approach. Okay, so I cannot go back to any particular stage. Suppose I am started from the feasibility study. From the feasibility study, I'll come to the user requirements. I'll do all the feasibility study of the project, that whether the project is feasible in nature or not. Then we are going to identify the user requirements. From the user requirements, the analysis will be done. From that analysis, system design will be developed, where we will develop system design. Program design will be there, various types of DFDs, use cases, ER diagrams, collaboration diagram, class diagram, sequence diagrams, all these will be developed at this program designing and the designing level. From there, the coding will be done in the required technology. Then the testing will be done and the final operation will be done. So this is how a waterfall model will work upon. Now for this waterfall model, it is the classical model. This imposes structure on the project, but every stage it needs to be checked and signed off. Every stage, like for example, feasibility study I have done. After doing this feasibility study, this stage needs to be checked upon and then we have to sign off, but it has a limited scope for the iteration. I cannot move back and forth as and when required. So this is a major limitation of the waterfall model. Next, it is the V process model. In the V process model, as we can see, we are having feasibility study, user requirements, system design, program design and the code. From the code, like the name is the V, that means it will be forming a variation of V. So this is the variation of the V in this. From the code, we will move forward to the program testing, system testing, user acceptance and review. Unlike the waterfall model, it is another way of looking at the waterfall model as well. But unlike the waterfall model, I can have the communication between the various stages as well. Like see in this particular figure, program design and program testing. If anything falls short of, then the corrections can be done in the program designing. If in testing anything error occur. Similarly, during system testing, if any other error occur, then the correction can be done at the system design. At the user acceptance, if some error occur, so the corrections can be made at the user requirements there and then. In the review, if the corrections are there, then the feasibility study will be corrected. So it is, we can say that it is a small variation of the waterfall model. Since in the waterfall model, we cannot go back and forth, but in the V model, at some stages I can go back, but it is not the case that if I want to come from testing to the coding part, then that cannot be done. So this is a variation of a waterfall model. Next, it is the evolutionary delivery or the prototyping. So here, this is the iterative process of creating quickly and inexpensively live and working model to test out the requirements and the assumptions. Another name for this evolutionary delivery prototyping model, it is the throwaway prototype or the evolutionary prototype. So what is being prototyped? The major question which occurs, it is what is the thing which we are going to prototype? This is the human computer interface which we can prototype over here. The functionality, if the client is not clear about its requirement, then the functionality can also be prototyped. Now, what are the various reasons of prototyping model? We learn by doing. First and the foremost is that we gain the experience as and when I am going to develop more and more projects. So, it is learning by doing. Second one, improved communication between the client and the developer. Third one, improved user involvement, because now what is happening, the client has given its requirements. Okay, now based on the requirements, I have developed a prototype. So here the development has been done. Here the development has been done. Prototype has been developed. The client will then see this particular prototype. So what will happen over here? Client verification. Now, if the client is satisfied, then only this will come into the designing phase. If the client is not satisfied, then again the development will be done, the client will review it, again it will see if the client is satisfied or not. So, this whole process will be repeated until the client gets satisfied from that particular prototype. So, in this model, the user involvement or the client involvement is more in the project. Feedback loop is established. So, this is a particular feedback loop which is there throughout the system. It reduces the need for the documentation since the client is involved there and themselves, and it reduces the maintenance cost, and it changes after the application goes live. Next one, the prototype, it can be used for producing expected results. Now, prototyping, it has some dangers as well, like the user may misunderstand the role of the prototype, the lack of the project control and the standards which are possible in the project, the additional expense of building the prototype. It focuses on user-friendly interface. It could be at expense of machine efficiency as well. So, if I say about that, it can be at the efficiency of the machine expense as well, because we are showing the prototype to the client. Now, the client does not has any idea how the technology is going to build. He is just saying, okay, these are the colors that I like on my website, and these are the functionalities which is required, or these are the images that are required on the website. But the case may be that those images, those colors can be bulky for the website. More number of servers are required for that. Large machinery is required to handle all those data, and the network is not able to handle those bulk images. So, that can be some danger on the prototype model. Now, what are the other ways of categorizing the prototyping? What is being learned? Like we are having organizational prototype, hardware software prototypes which are experimental in nature, application prototype which are exploratory in nature. Application prototype basically involves that feedback loop from where the user can say, okay, this is a good prototype, this is a bad prototype, this is the user interface which I have required. So this comes under exploratory. What is under experimental? Experimental means testing that which technology can be worked upon for a software, or testing that this is a hardware which can be taken care upon. To what extent we can have this prototype, this is the thing again, next thing, like to what extent we can have the mock-ups introduced for that. Along with it, we can have the simulated interactions between the system. Similarly, we can have the partial working models, that is the vertical versus horizontal models. So this is the incremental delivery. This is a delivered system. We are having 3 increments, increment 1, 2 and 3. Similarly, we are having the same model like design, build, install and evaluate. So this is the first incremental delivery. A small prototype has been built for that designing, build, install and evaluate. Now all this whole module, it forms the first increment. For the second increment, so the second incremental delivery, like now the client has been satisfied with particular module. So this module has been finished. Now what will happen? We will go for the next module. So again, for the next module, the same procedure will be applied upon. For the same procedure, it will have design, build, install and evaluate. This will be the second incremental delivery and it will go for the increment 2. Similarly, for the third one, again the design, build, install and evaluate, the third increment will be done. So this is how these increments will be done one by one, and after every delivery, after every first increment, the feedback from the client will be taken care upon. The client is satisfied, then only we will be working on the second module for that particular delivery. This is the incremental process. For this incremental process, we are having a feedback system. The feedback system will go from evaluate the result to this particular module. This is the module which we will be developing again and again. This is the intentional incremental delivery. So for this, we will identify the system objectives. Then we will create the open technology plan and then we will plan the increments. This will make out to be a first block. In the second block, after the increments has been done, we will design this particular increment based on these planned increments. Incremental model, that is first module will be developed. We will implement this increment and then we will evaluate the results. Evaluate the results means we will go for the testing and along with it we will also show this to the client. Then the feedback from the client, it will go, feedback will be done from the two parts. First one to the client and second one to the system objectives as well. So if the feedback, we have cleared the feedback from both of the things, then only we will be proceeding further. Next is the incremental approach benefits. Now, what are the benefits of this particular approach? So, first one, it is the feedback from early stages used in developing the later stages. Since we have seen that at every stage, we are getting a feedback. Now, what is the advantage of having the feedback at every stage? After getting the feedback from every stage, we are safe to go into the next stage. So, this is the important use of this incremental model. Second one, shorter development thresholds. We are having the shorter modules. So, the threshold values, or we can say the limits to which we have to develop the module, that is also shorter in nature. The user gets some benefits earlier as well for this. Next one, the project may be put aside temporarily. If I have developed suppose 2 modules which were required by the user urgently, then I can shift my site from one project to the another project. Temporarily the project can also be shut down as well, since the 2 modules were there and the client is able to do its work completely. So that is another advantage. It reduces the gold plating. But there are some possible disadvantages as well. The first one, it is the loss of the economy of the scale, and along with it the software breakage is there. Why the software breakage is there? Because we are having shorter thresholds and the software, it can be put aside temporarily as well. So this is advantage as well as disadvantage. For that, we have an outline incremental plan. Now, what is outline incremental plan? We step ideally 1 to 5% of the total project. For this, with non-computer steps, it should be included. and it is ideal if a step takes 1 month or less. So it is not more project which is working for more than 3 months, and each step it should deliver some benefit to the user. Some steps it will be physically dependent on others as well. So this is the outline incremental plan. Which step will be the first step? So some steps it will be the prerequisite because of the physical dependencies between each other. So others may be in any order. So we need to identify that what will be the first step, what will be the prerequisite step which will be required, because all the steps are dependent to each other. After identifying that particular prerequisite, we can have all other steps in any other order. Now, value to cost ratios, it can also be used in it. We can have V by C. What is V? V is a score 1 to 10 and it represents value to the customer. So this can be the value to the customer. C, it is a score from 0 to 10 and it represents value to the developers. So we can have V by C as well. Now let's see this V by C ratio. We are having various steps like profit report, online database, ad hoc inquiry, purchasing plan, and the profit based payor managers. So we are having the value and cost for each of the step. Like for the profit report, the value is 9, cost is 1, so ratio comes out to be 9. So the V by ratio, it tends to be at the second part. Online database, value 1, cost 9, ratio 0.11, so step 5th. Ad hoc inquiry, value 5, cost 5, ratio 1, so it comes out to be 4th. Purchasing plan, value 9, cost 4, ratio 2.25, it comes out to be the 3rd. Profit based payor managers, value 9, cost 0, so ratio is infinite, so it becomes to be the first step. So this is how these steps can also be identified if I need to know that what is the first step or what is the prerequisite or the outlier step for any project. Next is the agile methods. We can have the agile methods as well. So what is agile method? They are the structured development methods and they have some perceived advantages on their own. Like they produce large amount of documentation which can be largely unread. Documentation, it has to be kept up to date since we know that the maintenance plays an important role. So if the documentation is not proper, the maintenance will be an issue. The division into specialist group and need to follow the procedure files in the communication. User, it can be excluded from the design decision process, and long time it will lead to deliver anything, etc, etc. So these are the basic advantages of it. Now, what are the answers for all these questions? What are the answers for all these things which occur in the project? The answer for all these things, it is the agile methods. So we are going to use agile methods to overcome all these issues. Now, next it is the dynamic system development, that is DSDM. We can also say that. What is DSDM? Basically, DSDM, it is a UK based consortium. It is arguably that DSDM, it can be seen as a replacement for SSADM, which were the old methods that we were using. DSDM, it is a more program management approach than a development approach. So this is a dynamic system model, and we can still use DFDs, LDs, or we can say the load designs, ER diagram, collaboration diagram, class diagrams, anything else diagrams can also be used in this DSDM as well. There are basically 9 core principles of DSDM. What are those 9 core principles? The 9 core principles are: first one, active user involvement; second one, team empowerment to make the decisions; next one, frequent delivery of the products; fitness for business purpose; iterative and incremental delivery; changes are reversible in it; with requirements for the baseline at the high level; testing integrated with the development, that is testing and development goes hand in hand with it; collaborative and a cooperative approach, this is another principle. So these are the 9 core principles of the DSDM. Of these 9 core principles only, DSDM is a more popular methodology which has been used nowadays for the software project management. This is a framework of DSDM. Like for the DSDM, we are having feasibility and business study. From that, if we agree to the schedule, we create the functional prototype, functional mode iteration, and then we identify the functional prototype. So this is the procedure for a review prototype. The cycle will go again and again till the client is satisfied. After that, it will go to the create design prototype. For this, we design and build the iteration. We agree to the schedule, identify the design prototype. The client will review the design prototype again and again till the client is satisfied with that particular design. After that design, it will go to this implementation part. For that implementation part, for review the business, the user approval and the user guidelines. We train the users and then we finally implement. Now, what is this dashed arrows? These dashed arrows means this particular one cycle is for first module. For the second module, we have to go and again through this particular cycle itself. So this is how this DSDM will work. DSDM time boxing. So time box fixed deadline by which something has to be delivered, and basically the time it has to be typically from 2 to 6 weeks, and the Moscow priorities are there in it. What is Moscow priorities? Moscow priorities is must have, should have, could have, and the want. So this is the Moscow priorities. Must have means essential things which are required. Should have, these are the very important, but system should could cooperate without it. If it is not there, then also the system can work. Could have means if it is there in the system, then it's well and good, else also it's fine. And want, but probability is there that we are not going to use it or we are not going to get it. So this is the DSDM time boxing for any other project. Next is the extreme programming. Now, increments of 1 to 3 weeks, like the customer can suggest the improvement at any point of time, unlike waterfall model or the incremental model where we can work at just one particular model. Here we can work at any other point of time. Argued that distinction between the design and building of the softwares, they are artificial in nature. Code to be developed to meet the current needs only, and the frequent refactoring to keep the code structure in nature. So this is the benefits of the extreme programming. Extreme programming, basically it is developed in pair. We do not have a single developer that is working. We are having pairs of the developers that work on a project. So the test cases and the expected results, they are devised before the software design. Before the designing of the software itself, the test cases will be designed and also the expected results will be calculated. After retesting or after testing for the increments, the test cases are added to a consolidated set of test cases. We are having a consolidated pool of the test cases. Then the testing cases, they will be developed or they will be deployed in the system. We are having the Grady-Booch concern. What is that concern? It is an object-oriented authority and it is concerned that the requirement driven the project. So basically what it says that the conceptual integrity, it sometimes suffer because this is little motivation to deal with scalability, extensibility, portability or reusability beyond what may vague requirement might imply. So here the 4 keywords that comes, it is scalability, extensibility, portability and reusability. Now coming to these words one by one, first one, it is the scalability. What is scalability? Scalability means like if any software, it is working for 100 users. Now I want that system to work for 1000 users. Then that software must work with same efficiency, with same response for those 1000 users as well. That is scalability. Second one, it is extensibility. If I want to add any other new technology in that project, so that might not be the case that I need to develop all the project from the scratch. That is extensibility. Portability, like the system should work at any other device, any other network configuration, that is portability. Reusability, the softwares must be reusable in nature. We can use as well required for the layman, for the officials. So that should be the reusability in nature. So the tendency towards a large number of discrete functions with little communication, it is the infrastructure. This is the macro and the micro processes that are used. So macro process, for the micro process, this is the macro process. We are having several micro processes in it. So they iterate through each other as and when required. We are having the stop or the checkpoints as well. For those checkpoints, again they will iterate. After getting to a checkpoint, it will go to another module. So this is how this macro and micro process will be communicated. Rule of thumb about which approach to be used when, like we have studied the waterfall model, we have studied the agile methods, extreme programming, incremental evolutionary, V-shaped process. So what we have to do, like see, if the uncertainty of the project is very high, then we are going to use the evolutionary approach. Okay. Now, if the complexity is high, but the uncertainty is not high, then what we can use, we can have this incremental approach. If the uncertainty and the complexity both are low, then we can use this one-shot approach, that a single go I can make the whole project. And if the schedule is tight, then we can have the evolutionary or incremental model. So this is the rule of thumb which we can follow to develop or to make any project. Now, let's see the combination of approaches for that. Like we are having one shot, incremental, evolutionary. This is the construction phase. For the installation, we are again having three shots, like one shot, incremental and evolutionary. So what we have to do, if the installation one shot will go yes, if the construction installation is there. So one shot or incremental installation, it is any construction approach possible. For this, we can use it for any construction, any type of construction we can use it. Evolutionary installation, it implies evolutionary construction which is there. So one shot and incremental, it can be done. One shot and evolutionary, it cannot be done. Incremental evolutionary cannot be done, but evolutionary can be done. So we can see that one shot and incremental, they can go hand in hand along with installation and along with the construction side, but evolutionary can go with one shot and incremental only when the evolutionary it is at the construction side. If evolutionary it is at the installation side, then we cannot use one shot and incremental with it. But evolutionary can go hand in hand with any other model that we are going to use. Thank you.